lost my sunglasses yesterday. Hopefully I'll find them today. I think I know where they are. Beyond that, I really don't want to talk about it. Anyway, welcome to this week's edition of Wednesday Word. Psalm 116 says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." When I moved to Northern Kentucky, it was May of 2006, so it was the end of spring, beginning of summer. And then just a few short months, it was autumn. It was my first Northern Kentucky fall. Now, autumn doesn't look the same each and every year. There's lots of factors that go into play as to whether or not the leaves are particularly bright, as to how long they will stay on the tree, as to whether or not they can withstand a rainstorm like we had a few days ago, or if they'll just literally wash right off the trees. I've now been, this is my 15th Northern Kentucky autumn, and I believe that in 2006, the colors were particularly bright and amazing, and I thought it was just because, it's my first time not in a big city for autumn, and New York City has more trees than most people realize, but certainly not as much as you would have in suburbia or in rural areas. And so in Northern Kentucky, me experiencing autumn for the first time in Northern Kentucky was just unbelievable. And that year in particular, the colors were bright. The leaves stayed on the trees for a particularly long time. It probably has something to do with how wet the spring and summer were. But anyway, it was absolutely gorgeous. This year is very similar. Maybe the closest to 2006 since I've been here. And I think what hit me is what you're looking at when you look at these absolutely gorgeous colors, especially as they're pressed up against the backdrop of a clear blue sky. It's just absolutely stunning. But we need to remember that what we're looking at, and this is fairly obvious, what we're looking at is death. Like, this is death. They're getting ready. The leaves are changing color because they're about to die. They're going to fall off the tree and die. And that crunchy sound that you have as you rake leaves or walk through leaves or kids play in a pile of leaves, it is death. That is what those are. Those are dead leaves. And we're reminded that we live in a sin-cursed world, and that death affects everything. Sin affects everything. Psalm 116, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. But we have a God who, even when it comes to death, even when it comes to the ultimate curse of sin, he has redeemed us. He has given us something that is absolutely precious, which is why when a saint, when a Christian, when a believer dies, it is precious in God's sight, because he is fully reclaiming that which sin and death tried to claim, right? Because when somebody dies who is a believer, they go to heaven to be with the Lord, and therefore God says, precious in my sight, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of one of my loved ones, the death of a believer. And so that which is absolutely horrible and absolutely disgusting and has tends to have the ultimate victory, of course, apart from Christ, God redeems. And that's what we read in 1 Corinthians 15, right? Death is swallowed up in victory. Where's your sting? Like, what are you going to do now? If God has accomplished, if God has redeemed us even in death, what do we need to be fearful of, right? Romans 8, if God is for us, who can be against us? And so, what does that have to do with leaves? Not much, except that we're reminded as we look at the leaves that God can make that something that is absolutely disgusting and horrible, which is death. God can bring beauty out of that. God has redeemed that. And if that's true for the leaves on the tree, that is certainly true for believers, for the children of God, for those of us who have been adopted into his family. And it gives us something to rejoice over. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. I hope that as you drive around and look at the leaves, I'm looking at them right now. They're just stunning. Just stunning. I hope that as you look at them, you are amazed by God's goodness and kindness toward us, And more importantly, that you are reminded that you as a believer are precious in God's sight, and that nothing can change that. And even in death, maybe even and especially in death, we are precious, we are loved, we are blessed, and we have been redeemed. Hope you have a great day.